Alright, I'm spinning through as quickly as I can the games of the day. You can see there's quite a few games here. This is all with the Oloro deck. I'm going to bring the deck up now and then I'll bring it up at the end. I know it takes a little while for YouTube to snap the games clear. At the end I'll explain the choices. So there's the deck in the beginning and we'll go through this now. And I'm going to just kind of power through these. One thing to note though is that some of these earlier games were played with a version of the deck that is not, it wasn't finished. It wasn't as polished as the final version, the one that I'm using in the later games. So, changes were made throughout the day as I was cleaning things up. Obviously, I have a great start here, and my opponent has a pretty good one too. Him playing Sol Ring, and we're both playing Oloro mirror match. So we'll spin through this as fast as we can. I don't have any idea if these are good games or not, and by good I mean whether or not the opponent actually played them out, or how hard they were, or any of that. Just kind of going through whatever was in my queue for the day. So it looks like I slowed down his Nevinyrral's disc there, and then mind twist him. This crypt should have been a copy of his Sol Ring, not a second crypt. It's the exact same amount of mana. I was somehow thinking that by copying crypt I would get more mana out of the deal, because normally playing a crypt gives you more mana than a Sol Ring. Just a complete mental error there. Made no sense whatsoever. So the lapse was all I needed to mind twist him away and find the time and mana to get Karn to take care of his disc. And from there, somewhat elementary, so he plays his Oloro. I don't want to kill my Karn trying to deal with his Oloro, so I go ahead and just brainstorm, and he, I guess, concedes in response to that, so that will work. So here I'm playing against Sasaya, some kind of crappy snake thing. Whatever, that's fine. I'll go through this one pretty quick. I seem to recall this game being fairly eventless. He plays a Howling Mine. I get to draw 2 and then kill it before he gets to draw a card off of the mine. So thanks for letting me draw extra cards there. And during my upkeep I fetch a Mana Drain. Pass for the turn. He plays Realms Uncharted, and I give him 2 lands that don't cycle and throw away 2 lands that do, and he plays Junior's Kite. Fine, have some more lands. Put a Mana Drain under Isochron Scepter. Figured he'd just concede in the face of that, but no, he sticks around. Fetching Forest with his Reliquary Tower, so I just Demonic Tutor for Well of Lost Dreams. Let him fetch even more lands. I'm going to just hide his revealed cards since it keeps popping up. Oop, hiccup, excuse me. Stroke is no longer in the deck, by the way. This is a perfect example of why it's totally redundant with the way that this deck draws cards and what it does. It's actually Condescend now. So he plays a Witness and tries to cultivate. Since it's his last spell of the turn, I go ahead and just Mana Drain it. Draw cards there. Pass for the turn. He's hitting me for 0 damage. And I produce even more mana. And it looks like, yeah, I'd probably be twisting him here. So twist for 9. Don't usually do that. 10 mana mind twist, but he finally gives up. Carrying on. It's kind of a funny situation to have to do that. Alright, so here this guy's playing Helioid. Now I had possible turn 1 Imperial Seal, but I decided to wait on it, since the card I wanted to get would have been probably 3 mana anyway. So I turn 2, I seal forward, Dark Tutelage. Very, very frequently you'll see this happening. Imperial Seal for Dark Tutelage or for the mana to cast it, because they're in the same colors and this is cheaper than well. Early game, you just want to fill your hand up with cards, and this is actually the most efficient way to do it early, other than perhaps Lantax Scroll Rack combo, which Imperial Seals will also be used to catch at times. So just let him continue to stack crap onto his guy. I think if it dies, he gets the guy back or something like that. Totally doesn't matter. I just build up mana. He's just putting all of his eggs in one basket, and I just continue to ignore that, using the top with the tutelage to not take damage from Dark Tutelage. ahead and pick up Bog. Bog's nowhere in the deck either. It just doesn't seem all that necessary. It can come back perhaps some other time if it proves necessary, but for now it's gone. He banishing strokes, and I figured I'd have to force because he'd kill the Dark Tutelage, but no, he kills the Soul Ring. He likes the fact that this is dealing damage to me. Never mind that I'm drawing like 2 cards a turn, and it's barely hitting me at all with top. It's going to hit me for a max of 1. So I just top and then only take 1 damage every time, but yeah. Once he finally plays his commander, I was waiting for him to play it, specifically because he had just enough stuff for it to actually be a creature, which is what I wanted. So then I'm able to Terminus, and his god is gone. And he plays like, I don't know, a lot of. I'm probably ought to just skip through this one. He plays a lot of irrelevant crap, and we have a lot of games to get through, but bottom line is you can see how this game is running out here. I just keep building up more and more and more and more counter spells in my hand. And he's got this like Cavern of Souls, and he did get a shuffle effect off, so at some point I go ahead and just kill it. But yeah, I get my god out, and he does a few like futile efforts. I end up cloning the Vedalken Shackles, taking everything and smashing him with the giant until he's dead. Now I'm drawing 3 cards per turn, so it's just completely over. I'm going to skip running through a pointless match at that point. My opponent's dead. So here I'm playing against Mariki. I think this was an interesting game. I don't recall for sure. So we'll see. So I get first turn Fetch, turn 2 Grim, Relic, Charge, and then I draw Force of Will to go with it. So beautiful. Down comes Well. Miss a land drop that turn, but he plays Burnish Heart, and that's fine. But I get to draw 2 cards, and now I'm going to hit land drops pretty consistently from this point forward, I imagine. It's a charge, draw a couple, and then during my upkeep, after drawing 2 and seeing no mana, I go ahead and vault. And vault, and vault, and vault, and vault, and vault. And I go get Mana Crypt, and use the mana off of my Coalition Relic plus the Crypt to clone my Coalition Relic. He hits me for some damage, don't care. Goes and gets some lands, don't care at all. I draw a couple of cards, and then Tez Tutelage with 2 mana ready up for a counterspell. Plays a whip that I don't care about, and returns a stag to his top of his library for some strange reason. So now I'm drawing like absolutely insane levels of cards. Play Humility, and Mind Twist his hand. He sticks around for a little bit, but right, plays his 1/1 Burnished Stag, who I then plow. Because of the fact that I plow it, it takes me a little bit longer, but the conclusion of this game is that I just keep playing artifacts. He never plays another card that's relevant ever again. I just keep playing artifacts, and then I ultimate Tez and attack him for, 50 plus damage, 60 points of damage, I think. Basically, it seems a little strange to have Humility in play and kill somebody with Tez, but what happens is, if you have Tez-Red and you ultimate, let's say Humility's not in play, you ultimate Tez, your artifacts will become 5/5 versions of themselves. If you then cast Humility, the Humility came into play time-stamped after the effect that made them 5/5s. So those 5/5 artifacts who tap for mana would suddenly become 1/1s with no ability. That would be very stupid. Now flip it around. Humility's in play and you ultimate Tez. All the artifacts which have abilities like tapping for mana become 5/5 creatures and then because of Humility they lose all of their abilities, but they don't become 1/1s because power and toughness goes based on timestamping, based on when the most recent effect occurred. That's the power and toughness of the creature. So what you end up with is 5/5s who can't tap for mana and have no text. And so That's how I kill him this game. I just ultimate Tez and then attack for, 45 or 50 points of damage with a billion counterspells backing it up. So something good to know there. And one of the things that you can do is just you can play this deck out and get your commander, or get yourself set up so that you've got like Moat, Humility, Tezzeret's really huge. Karn is in play, and then what you can do is just Karn away your own Moat so that you can ultimate with Tez and kill them, or you can Cryptic Command it away, or you can Vindicate it away. So, however, whatever, however you decide to get rid of it, Oblivion Ring it or whatever. So anyway, I'm playing against Godo Bandit Warlord, so I vault into, what am I getting? Anybody? Bueller? Yeah, that's right, Mana Crypt. I get down with Tezzeret and fetch myself Crucible to go with that there Strip Mine I've got. And scoop, turn 3 kill. So here I'm playing against Tajik, Blade of the Legion. Blade of the doesn't fly over a moat. So first turn Talisman comes down. Dimer Aqueduct is also out of the deck now. That would actually be an island. You can see how much better that would have been if it were. Much better. Anyway. So play top and use it. Since I have nothing I can do with my mana, he plays his Sky. It's fine. I just chill out. I'm not going to play a moat. Even if I could cast it, I'm not going to play a moat with unprotected moat unless I was in fear for dying. And not with my commander, I'm certainly nowhere near that. So he goes for Elspeth, and I figure I'm going to counter that one. And then see the O-ring, and I'm like, oh shoot, I should have peeked to a top before I countered it. Oh well. So I finally play my moat, and it's protected by Forbid with buyback, and that will work. He plays a 5/5 dragon, but I've got the O-ring in my hand, so shoot, bye-bye. He plays Crusade. Doesn't matter to me. I have a moat. I put my giant in play behind my moat, and he becomes a Jamday Tome. A life-sucking Jamday Tome. So, for 1 mana. So I start drawing, and hang on to the Wasteland. Normally, you see this deck like slam a Wasteland and kill a land right away, but the way this deck plays out, a lot of times, like when you get in a situation like this, it's totally cool to just hang on to it, chill out, and wait for something threatening like the land that says, a particular creature type can't be countered, unless you have like Crucible or something like that, because you don't need to, you negate so many of their cards with things like Moat and whatnot, that you don't really need to worry about them casting their cards. You don't need to like stop them from casting their spells. You can just counter the relevant ones. There will be so few of them that it'll be fine. The only time I would waste like aggressively is if I thought, like say Rupture Spire was his only red source, then I would definitely have killed it there. So otherwise, no. Just hang on to it and chill. So anyway, or put it in play and leave it. So here I'm playing against Teferi, and this deck runs more counterspells than any deck I've played in the past, other than the few minutes that I was playing with Nin and found that I didn't care for it. Funny thing is, this deck plays very much like Nin, but I just don't like. These are the colors that I like to be in when I'm playing blue. If I'm not playing an aggressive deck with green, it's either blue-green aggro or blue-white-black control, with or without an additional 4th and or 5th color. If they ever made a commander that was as good as Oloro, and he also happened to have green in it, I would be very, very happy to see a blue-white-black-green commander who is control-oriented. Man, that would be fantastic. Because I would love to just play a couple more. Like, it would be very easy to play green, add green to this deck, and play Sylvan Library and Regrowth. Just 2 cards, but they're 2 amazing cards. However, I don't foresee them making anything as good as Oloro. Again, more than likely they probably won't, and even if they did, they have yet to make a 4-color commander in, so I'm not holding my breath for that either. I'd be even happier if they just got rid of this rule that keeps you locked into a color. I mean, why shouldn't I be able to play a control deck with like a 3-color control deck with Teferi as my guy? I get that it adds. I get why we do that because that's the EDH format, but in a way it's kind of weird and awkward. So anyway, I'm playing against Teferi, and the only thing I do is counter his counter, which he used to try to cause me to not develop, and just let him have all his crap. And then on this turn, I get this amazing bomb-malicious turn where I clone Teferi, then O-ring Teferi, he cannot counter of course, then Mind Twist him for his entire hand. So he plays a Teferi and it completely backfires on him. At the end of the turn, he's thinking he's in good shape because he's got Teferi against the blue deck. On my turn, I've got Teferi, he's got Mind Twisted, and he has no more commander. And he scoops. It was just awesome. I love the way this deck does that kind of judo and just flips a game around. It's a sign of any good control deck. You should be able to take a losing position and just, boom, snap your fingers and make it a winning position. All good control decks can do that. That's one of the reasons why I love them so much. The most classic example of being able to do that was Balance, but unfortunately Balance is banned in this format, and it breaks my heart. So anyway, I first turn Enlightened Tutor since I have the Tomb for Dark Tutelage. As I said, I get that card quite frequently. It's an insane value for black and 2 colorless. Crazy, crazy value. So now I just chill out. Since I've got counter for a moment, I just pause and then develop a bit. I'm planning to tithe, you see, and I've got the Force of Will. Otherwise I would have vindicated his Arcane Sanctum. So he plays Stolen Goods, which will let him exile a card until he hits a non-land and then cast that without paying its mana cost. There's a high likelihood he'll hit a counterspell here or a non-relevant card, and if he hits something really juicy like Gilded Lotus, I can copy artifact it. If he hits something like, say, my Jace, sucks, but then I'll vindicate it. So, and if it's really like, I mean, Mind Twist, he would have to play it for 0, Demonic Tutor, whatever. So I figure I'm just going to let that one slide. He hits Vedalken Shackles, absolutely garbage against me, and if he does play it without paying its mana cost, which I assume he will, yep. Now I have a target for copy artifact against him, more likely to be good against him than it is to be good against me. So I go ahead and just fetch double planes, and then Dark Tutelage finds me a Winter Orb. I play copy artifact on my Soul Ring and Winter Orb him. And then strip mine his untapped non-basic and play my commander. Because what the heck? Have Vedalken Shackles. All you need is 4 islands in play, dude. And you got me. So anyway, he tries for a Darksteel Mutation. I force that with the Hinder. Somewhat painful there, but I'm not going to throw away Forbid when I'm Dark Tutelaging, and Counterspell's just too efficient. So I go ahead and start drawing. Now I'm drawing 3 cards per turn thanks to my commander. Commander ability stacking with Dark Tutelage. And I use top to set it up so that I won't take any damage. And smash. And he finally realizes, yeah, it's completely hopeless, dude. You have no chances whatsoever. That sinks in and he scoops. So, mini scoops. This is a deck of mini scoops. But that is just okay. So here, another Teferi opponent. How interesting. So he's playing Teferi. This looks like a pretty good keeper. Only a tiny bit risky. Looks like my cards are going to be at the top. If he was one of those kind of guys that plays like Stifle or something, I suppose I'd be in trouble. Luckily, I draw more mana. So, yep, we're just going to play a game of draw go. As long as I keep hitting mana and things to play. So, end of turn, I go ahead and fetch and cast Tithe. And the reason I fetched Scrubland here was so that if he does counter this, like, instead of getting why did I fetch? Oh, so that I can tithe for double island, because I wanted to get 2 islands for on the off chance that I happen to draw Shackles, and since I have the Sunken Ruins to convert Scrubland into blue mana, it really wasn't as big of a deal not to have blue right there. So I go for shackles, and basically I figured if he counters the shackles then he's got an opening to do something. If he doesn't counter the shackles he loses the game, and he did not counter the shackles. So now I don't tap the shackles to charge it. So instead I do a main phase strip mine. He tries to bounce his land, I counter it, then I declare my attack phase. After the attack phase I merchant scroll for Force of Will and cast Winter Orb using the mana from the mana drain. And he taps mana and bounces the Winter Orb, which I'm cool with. Goes for his commander, which I'm not cool with, and then I'm going to untap and orb him. I figured he would go right for his commander, that's why I just let him have the orb. Basically what he was doing was untapping my lands and getting himself a commander with an extra counter. It was totally predictable and worked out just nicely for me there. So this guy here is playing, come on. Oh, another Oloro mirror match. And my stuff will be at the bottom. My hand will be at the bottom, but my cards will be at the top again. We got another one of those replay glitches. So, seems good. Again, Dimer Aqueduct is gone. It is actually Island now. Would have been much better. Although, you know, it turns out to work. I mean, it works out here to a degree. But, so he's playing like Survival Cash, and I don't care. You can have your Mall Drifter, basically. Go ahead and draw 2 cards there. As a sorcery. Nevinyrral's Disc, on the other hand, is a no-go. It's kind of the disc. It's so weird to see. I guess this is like a precon or something. Anyway, Reliquary Towers is no longer in the deck. It was a temporary thing that I put in here. So I Mind Twist him pretty hard there. And he gets down anything? Yeah. Some sort of 4/4 that can't be blocked if, who cares? So I just say go and hinder a deep analysis, which is very satisfactory since, or not hinder, but a spell snare or whatever. Spell crumple, there we go. Spell crumple is deep analysis, so no flashback for him. Very satisfying. I use spell crumple over hinder whenever I have the option, because crumple goes back into the deck, and unless there's a game in which I don't want to draw crumple again, which is very, very rare. Of course I want to draw, you know, more counters, so I do that because it's a counter that recycles itself, and that seems better than playing a counter that doesn't. So plus hinder has more flexibility on the off chance that I would want to put a card on top of his library for some reason. I have that option. So anyway, here I go ahead and give him a window by playing Vest and taking the last card out of his hand, and he does exactly what I was anticipating, which is he plays his giant. So I go ahead and Terminus, or tutor for Terminus, and go ahead and Terminus his giant away, which was what we wanted, because that solves 2 problems at once. Takes care of the 4/4, who might have threatened Vest, and takes care of the giant. And he draws a Phyrexian Gargantua, so I take a peek first and then impulse into my well and go ahead and just counter it. I took a peek because, I mean, I really didn't want to use up my last counter so quickly. That Gargantua but it draws 2 cards, so I needed to counter it. So anyway, during my upkeep I look with top, don't see any counters, so I play a land and well, and then go ahead and use Lily's fetch ability to go get a counter spell so that I can protect my well, because at this point, so there's a counter spell sitting on top of my deck, and luckily he doesn't top deck anything that I need to activate top to get it for. The forbid is what I selected since I have well going. And I was really hoping I wouldn't have to activate top and get the forbid, because if I did, then I throw it away and we carry on with the game. But if I didn't, which I didn't, then I get to draw the forbid, and now I've got Vest to make him discard whatever he draws, and then forbid with buyback, drawing 3 cards a turn to lock him out of the game permanently. So that was pretty cool. Here I'm playing against Nicol Bolas. I've got a great hand, although it's a bit slow. There's no artifact ramp in it. But I draw a tutor, and we can fix that artifact ramp problem. I imagine that's what I'm about to do. Yep. There goes Crypt, and instead of going for tutelage, I just go right to Future Sight. Revealing Thran Dynamo there. Future Sight with Dark Tutelage is my backup plan. I mean, next turn if he plays a threatening permanent, I can both cast Dark Tutelage and O-Ring potentially. Or maybe Thran Dynamo and clone it. I mean, the possibilities now are fairly extensive. So he plays Read the Bones, and since he does that, look at that beautiful top of my library there. So I just play Thran Dynamo, copy artifact off the top on Thran, play a land off the top, I'm sure. Dark Tutelage. Oh no, I leave the land there. I guess I already played a land for the turn, but now that I've played my Dark Tutelage, I've got the land that I'll hit with that, taking no damage. So he just plays his Solemn Simulacrum. I'm not sure what he's hoping to do here, but anyway, the top card of my library is land, so I might be out of gas, but I have a fetch land, and I also have another way to shuffle. So I do this. I clone his top, and he lets me. I clone his top, and then clone his top, and I clone his top, and he never activates his top in response. It's totally crazy. So after doing that a few times and building up a little bit of a hand, I go ahead and copy his Solemn and ramp out some more mana. And at this point, I feel like I've got the game. I'm going to just trade Solemn for Solemn, no problem with me. Go ahead and have another card. And yeah. So, continuing to develop. Bajuka Bog is gone. That is also island. Bog and Dimer Aqueducts, both islands. And finally, he says too much and gives up. This is only turn 6. I would say too much is an adequate description of what was happening there. So here, my opponent, I don't know if we're going to lock up or what's going on with this. Here we go. He's playing Anthrax and Cyanide over there. Reliquary Tower, gone. I believe that has also become island. Basically, after just talking about it with Brian, the deck just needed more islands for Shackles. So we've upped that island count to 4 basic islands. I have it split evenly, 2 snow islands and 2 non-snow islands, 2 regular. And then there's also 1 basic plains and 1 basic swamp. So that gives us 6 cards to land tax, which means you can take an empty hand, put a tax into play. On the next turn you'll draw, for the turn plus 3 is 4 cards, play a land is 3. On the following turn you'll draw 4 plus 3 cards is 7. So you can take an empty hand with 6 basic lands and go to a full hand in 2 turns with land tax. You really don't need more than like maybe 3 to 4 lands tops with tax. I would say 4, just so that you can play one of them and still score rack away 3, or maybe play 2 and score rack away 2. And originally I only had 4, but since Shackles already needed islands anyway, it just made sense to add more basics, and then make the deck stronger that way. So anyway, here, if you watch that game, like basically what ended up happening was I ramped like crazy, got his Shackles down, played a Humility, and then all he had was this like 3/3 with no abilities. Interestingly, the enchantment gives his creature the abilities. It doesn't do the thing for him. So because he played the enchantment prior to Humility, it or no, did he play it prior? No, so he played the enchantment after Humility. So his guy is a 3/3, but since it gives it abilities and Humility takes those away, it's a 3/3 with no abilities. It's kind of a weird thing. Anyway, I Mystical Teachings, and in response to that, he gives up though. With Vedalken Shackles running, I don't blame him, of course. So anyway, Mystical Teachings is just such an insane bomb. Just the ability to like go get counterspell and a factor fiction, or to go get like a tutor and then tutor for well to get like mana drain and the well via either vampiric tutor or enlightened. It's just so wonderfully good. So anyway, here I'm playing against Carador, and I've got a kind of a awesome rampy start. Come screaming out the gates. I've seen starts like this before, right? So I go for strip mine, I copy the coalition relic, go for strip mine, and getting ready to, or wasteland rather, and get ready to fetch strip mine, kill his other land, leave him with none that he scoops. This guy here set up a match, and as I recall, I beat him so bad he just quit. It's always funny when when the other guy sets up a match and then absolutely refuses to play 2 out of 3 because they know that they don't have a chance, I suppose. I don't know what it is. But I always find it interesting, like when I set up a match because I want to play 2 out of 3. And if you beat my ass in the first one, that's exactly why it's a match, so that I have a chance to win in games 2 and 3. I don't know, because some people don't think that way. So here I top deck the City of Brass right on time, end of turn factor fiction, and he into a beautiful pile. He makes the piles like that. And the nice thing here is I can take this pile and I'll still get the island thanks to Crucible of Worlds. So that's exactly what I would do. Take this pile here, take the 2 pile, yep. But it's really the 3 pile because I'm about to play that island out of the graveyard. So I go ahead and upkeep Enlightened Tutor 4. Doesn't matter, I guess he gives up. It's kind of weird that he gives up in response to Enlightened Tutor, like everything else I did. I mean, he saw I had the Enlightened Tutor from the Factor Fiction. You'd think he would have just given up then, but apparently he thought I was going to put it in my hand and not cast it, maybe? I don't know. Okay, so here I'm playing against Child of Alara. I have a method of killing it that I don't want to use, which is Supreme Verdict, since it's a Nevinyrral's Disc, almost. Well, that's an Oblivion Ring, basically, if it dies. Figure I'll plow it, or Terminus it, or Oblivion Ring it, or bounce it, or Humility it, or something. But I'm not going to Supreme Verdict it. That's the bottom line. So anyway, I get the always ridiculous Mox Diamond Land Tax combo. So I go ahead and just set up, fetch some basics, fill my hand up, play the Landcestral Recall, as we used to call it. And you may have heard me refer to it that way before. So anyway, using Vault to set up exactly what I want. Look at all those beautiful cards that are just going flying past. But for those of you familiar with the combo, I am fetching Scroll Rack. He plays this thing. It's going to produce worms, and it's a double crusade that produces creatures every turn. Seems pretty good. Does not seem great though. I'm going to just cover his guy up. Because they don't make mana and they don't kill permanents, they just do damage, and I just don't care much about damage, so I just totally leave it there. Ignore it. Now that I've got Land Tax Scroll Rack going, I get to draw all these wonderful lands and then put them right back in the deck so I can draw them again next turn. As long as I'm very careful about how I set my mana up. So I go ahead and fabricate for a Mox Opal and then Opal into map. As long as I don't go over the number of lands he's got. So I'm figuring at some point he's going to play his child, because that's the play, right? You need to clear the board out. But no, he plays Teneb. I figure, okay, well, that is enough of an investment for me, so I'm almost certainly going to sweep the board now. Got him nice and heavily committed. Squish, all that junk goes away. So finally he plays he plays Numot the Devastator. Alright, so swords it. And now I'm just chilling, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to spell crumple his commander, and then I figured he would give up, but he gives up without even playing his commander, which is crazy. I don't know, he's probably like one of those new to commander guys who forgot that he has one, or maybe he just sees that he's not going to resolve it. I don't know. Normally, you can play your commander a few times and stress the blue mage's counter spells. As long as they don't have a tuck counter, you can like take counters out of their hand by replaying your commander over and over till they run out of counters, and then even though your commander gets more expensive, eventually you got them. So anyway, against this guy, I just get turn 2 Jace the Mind Sculptor, and he gives up. Probably the right call. So here I'm playing against Nekusar the something or other, I don't know. Mind Razor. Okay. So first turn Imperial Seal. I think we've seen this one before. Only this time I go get Soul Ring and use Brainstorm to effectively bring a Brainstorm rather, to almost Ancestral Recall, turning basic lands that I had into other cards and then playing a fetch land to shuffle them away. And so I figured I would use Impulse to find myself a card drawer, but I was going to set up with a big mana advantage against him, but he didn't want to see how I was going to win that game, apparently. That's fine. I can answer the question for him. I was going to win that game by him right-clicking and scooping, as he just did. So, Oloro faces Timaret the Murder King. Not a good commander, and now that Oloro is out, it is completely worthless. Because what good is it to spend a ton of mana to sacrifice guys you can deal 2 damage to a deck that gains 2 life a turn for no mana indefinitely? And it's not like I'm the only person playing Oloro. So anyway, he gets a great threat though. Viashino Heretic's a real pain in the butt. I could play the Abyss here and then just let him eat my Thran Dynamo. But I'm kind of short mana, so I actually go ahead and just fetch up Swords to Plowshares and waste a Demonic Tutor on an early threat like that. Which shows you that Viashino Heretic's a good card, so those of you playing red, you may consider running Viashino Heretic's quite a threat. Anyway, now that we've finally got a pause in the action, I Mind Twist his hand off. And then, with his commander out there, go ahead and play the Abyss and draw myself a land tax. How nice is that? So he puts the Abyss on the stack targeting Spike Jester and just sacks it to deal some damage to me. Of course I don't care about damage. I get a tax, and now I've got Tax Forbid going. And the Abyss against an empty-handed creature-based deck, and he plays Haunted of Night's Reach, so I forbid it with buyback. Pitching Lindell's Vault. It's nothing I need to search for. I have Forbid, land tax, and I've got a Future Sight in my hand. We are fine. So go ahead and play the Sight before playing a land. Play a land off the top. Activate Tez. Use him. End up going and fetching myself a Sensei's Dividing Top. And now I have Top Sight going, which, if you haven't seen the combo, you're about to. So here it is. I'm just gonna, come on, Tezzeret. So it is cast top. Well, I guess I clicked the button a little too much. Anyway, yeah, tap top to draw the top card of your library. Top moves its way to the top of your library. You can then cast it from the top of your library. I don't know why this guy is still playing this game, but looks like I have to put him out of his misery, so I fetch myself a Karn Liberated and Karn him. I'm not going to go through it. Bottom line is I'm going to Karn and then Ultimate Tez and kill this guy. He's going to take 45 points of damage here, and he's going to die eventually, but if I keep clicking, we're just going to sit here for a really long time. I use Jace to make sure he never draws anything relevant. I don't know, I guess we're pretty close to seeing that. I'll skip through here really fast. I'm playing like well and all this is the business, but the only reason I'm playing this stuff is because I need artifacts. So I can ultimate with Tez. And yes, I do I have Humility in play? Can't remember. Well, even if I did, it wouldn't matter, just so you know. Can't remember if I explained that on this video or one of the others, but bottom line is it works. Yeah, let's just skip through this game. This video is long enough. Come on. And I don't think I was like intentionally drawing this out. I just needed to have enough, because I had Swords to Plowshare earlier. I needed one more artifact than I should have needed. So anyway, you can see I activate Tezzeret, the Seeker. Artifacts you control become 5/5. Shadow's Man is being attacked. The replay is still trying to catch up to all the button clicks. I'm just going to hit OK, but I ultimate Tez and smash his face in. So anyway, here's Oloro facing down Sigarda. We're almost done with this exceptionally long video. Hopefully if you're watching this like maybe during your lunch hour or something, I'm not eating your entire breakaway. Hopefully it's entertainment. I vamp, and hopefully you figured out what I was going for there. I've got Tax Orb. Orb encourages your opponent, of course, to play lands, and Tax punishes him for doing so. And even if he doesn't, I've got Mox. So it's almost guaranteed that he's going to be playing lands at some point here. So I just chill out. Yep, there comes the land, and he clamps his guy just because, you know, he can untap one land per turn, I guess. Might as well, right? So up goes the Tax, and then Rack puts them into the deck for use later. So yeah, eventually, like, he manages to do a emergency sack his guy just to draw cards off Clamp, finds a Pride Mage, uses the Pride Mage to kill, end of turn kill, I cast Humility, and so he has to activate Pride Mage in response, and he uses it to kill Winter Orb. No problem for me. Plays a Sword of Fire and Ice. I am still tax racking. And I just get rid of a bunch of creature removal because, I mean, really, I've got Humility in play already. I go ahead and just play Well of Lost Dreams. Really, it's Well of Lost Games, though. Nobody wins with that out. And he plays Thrun, which is very cool for me, because I can steal it with, you know, this revealed card thing is just awful when you're trying to do a replay. Anyway, I probably don't need to spin through the rest of this, but basically, I produce a lot of mana and steal his Thrun. I think eventually he may. Oh yeah, there we go. I steal it in response to he clamps his. Okay, that's what happens. He tries to slice and twain his my Humility, and in response to that, I steal it, and then Slice and Twain resolves, and Thrun the Last Troll becomes a 4/4 under my control, and Shackles only checks on resolution. It does not check after that, so even though I only have one island and I have a 4/4 Thrun, it will keep it. If I untap the Shackles, of course, I will lose the Thrun. I won't be able to take it back. For one thing, it's not targetable, but it was targetable while Humility was out, so that's how that works. And I'm not going to spin through this game. I obviously win this game, but I strip mine him to death with Crucible of Worlds and beat him in the face with his own Thrun until he's dead. And I think mind twisting him at some point in there and literally countering everything he does for the rest of the game. So, let's see. 3 more games. Here I have like a kind of godly hand. And I get first turn Chase. And my opponent, does he stick around? Yeah, he sticks around for a little bit. turn 2 land tax, and that's it. He's had enough. I get to draw 5 cards per turn, starting on turn 2, and he's not going for it. So Oloro versus Oloro, and here, I don't know, this is like a really long game, if I recall. I keep a, oh yeah, that's right. So I keep a Mana Crypt Expedition map hand. Pretty ballsy move, I thought, but you know, that might backfire on me, but it seems to be working out okay. And of all the creatures you might play, Saras in an Oloro deck certainly is one of the most reasonable ones. Anyway, he starts smashing me. Anyway, and I'm able to, I have to Demonic Tutor for land and throw away a Spell Crumble because I have too many cards. So he's, you know, kicking my butt here. But I have a Vindicate and am able to kill his guy. And he follows up with the Chase and Jaces me. However, I did not draw Vampiric Tutor here. Yeah, that's not right. This is going to bug out. I didn't draw Vampiric Tutor. I drew a land. So I draw a land there and I play it. It's scrub land, I think. Play it, cast Yawgmoth's Will, and then kill his Jace with the Vindicate. So he plays his commander. And then I end up playing upkeep. I use the scrub land to Enlighten Tutor for Humility. And Humility is commander to trap it in play. I'm doing nothing for him. And he plays like the white sorcery that doubles his life total, so he ends up with like 100 and it was maybe a turn or two later, but he ends up with like 140, 50 life, somewhere around there. And it totally doesn't matter. I just end up Winter Orbing him out of the game and just chilling. And unfortunately, you're not going to get to see that one. So last game, here I'm playing against Skithrix, and this game was actually super awesome. And this one I think actually has, well, I think this was super awesome. I don't remember. Maybe that was a different one that I'm thinking of. Anywho, this one actually has all the cards are correct in here as far as what I'm using. So counterspell is Infect Guy, play Karn, and immediately smoke his mirror. Smoke and mirrors. Anyway, so then he plays Underworld Connections on his Swamp, so he's going to be able to draw extra cards there. A Strictly Worse Phyrexian Arena, but you can play both in a deck, so I'll assume that he is. So I Merchant Scroll for Mystical Teachings, and plus up Karn, because I don't want to -3 it to kill his Swamp just yet. I do not want to actually kill my Karn. So I was hoping he would just play his commander here, but he plays that thing. So now Karn takes that down. I play land and say go. He swings in for Karn, and I search for swords and plow that. And then end of turn, flashback Teachings for Enlightened Tutor, which I use to fetch during my upkeep. Well of Lost Dreams. So Well comes down. I go ahead and hit his mana again, just to keep him off. What I want to do is I want to encourage him to play Skithrix, but not have enough mana to play haste on it, and then I can Terminus it away. So I keep hitting him down to 4 mana on purpose with Karn too low to, it's too low to exile Skithrix if he plays it. And so he sees this, and he senses an opening. He senses weakness that, of course, I don't have. It is a false weakness, and I go ahead and draw this way. And I was planning to Terminus, like I said, but because I drew the Oblivion Ring and I have Ves, and I drew the Sackland, instead I hit his hand with Karn, hit his hand with Ves, and then hit his commander with Oblivion Ring, and I will save Terminus for later. But there is no later. He gives up, and that works just fine. I guess me drawing 3 cards per turn and activating both Karn and Ves is probably good time to give up. So that is the deck in action, and I do hope that you have enjoyed it. As I was saying earlier, made some changes to the mana base. The Dimer thing is out. The colorless land that affects hand size is out. You've got 2 snow-covered islands, 2 regular islands, 1 island, 1 plains, and 1 swamp are in. The Azorius Chantry is still in. It works very well with land tax, but you don't want to have too many of these kinds of lands. You never want to really draw 2 of them. It's really disappointing when you do, but 1 is fine. So now we've got more basics for tax, more defense against things like Blood Moon, and more islands, a total of 8 island cards to use in conjunction with Vedalken Shackles. Makes it a lot cleaner. And other than that, Stroke of Genius is gone, and it became Condescend, because early game, you really just need to dig for land. Stroke of Genius is terrible at digging for land early game, or, mana sources, doesn't have to be land. Stroke is horrible at that. And also you want to defend yourself, and very few cards do both, but Condescend does. Early game, it not only protects you from your opponent's development, but helps you find further yours. I think it's a better card. Stroke is better in a deck where you plan to refill your hand, like, really long, slow, grindy game, where you don't really have like permanence to refill your hand, and you're just going to go for a big refill. But this deck doesn't so much need that. It's got certainly got the ability to potentially, pick up extra cards via Fact or Fiction, which you can Mystical Teachings for, and Yawgmoth's Will to recast things like Impulse, Brainstorm, Demonic Tutor. That's a way you can refill your hand as well. But for the most part, because of the just raw power of Dark Tutelage and Well of Lost Dreams, as well as Future Sight, and then Jace, and then Vess's ability to fetch any of those, along with all of the other tutors, the Demonic, Imperial Seal and whatnot. It's very, as you can see from all the games that we played, it's not that hard to keep your hand full. And so Stroke just becomes this very expensive, like, redundant card that you never really feel like casting. And Condescend, on the other hand, will definitely be one that I will always be happy to tap for. And the other thing here is, let's see, copy artifacts in. The Sculpting Steel is out. I made it just Mind Stone because sometimes I don't want mana, sometimes I do. Mind Stone kind of fits the bill there. Brian was just saying he's using a Signet. That's also a reasonable option. I'm assuming he's using the blue-white one. I like Copy Artifact because it's the cheapest copy effect, and I like Metamorph because, like in that Tezzeret game, Tezzeret game, I copied Tezzeret. Other times you're going to copy powerful artifacts. If Humility's in play, it still works. You just copy an artifact, not a creature. Fabricate's in there to get, Well of Lost Dreams and our power cards. So everything's working very, very well, very smoothly. Loving the deck, and I hope you are too. It's the longest video I've ever made, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.